Hey, it's Zane. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you being here as always. Today I want to answer the question, when should you sell your Bitcoin? When should you sell your Bitcoin? And should you actually ever sell your Bitcoin? And this is a really good question, and it's one that comes up quite a lot. And I want to be pretty blunt here today in this video, and I want to share with you my thoughts on this. And this is from someone who's been in Bitcoin for about 7 years and who has never sold any Bitcoin. And I meet with people every single week who have made the mistake of selling Bitcoin before they were ready, and they live to regret that tale. But the good news is that most of the time these people have learned from their mistakes, and they now understand exactly what this asset is, and they're not going to make the same mistake again. But let's unpack this. When should you sell your Bitcoin? The first thing to understand is that if you sell your Bitcoin, what are you actually doing? What you're doing is you're selling the world's best performing asset of all time for the world's worst. Let me repeat that. When you sell your Bitcoin, what you're doing is you're selling the best performing asset of all time for the worst. Let that sink in. That's what you're actually doing. So you want to have a really, really, really good long hard think about why you're selling your Bitcoin before you actually sell it. Because you're exchanging the best performing asset, the most scarce asset, the most scarce monetary system or technology or protocol humanity has ever seen, for the worst. That's the first point I want to make here. And this is why ultimately 99% of the time selling Bitcoin is a mistake. And I've met with many people, very, very smart people, who have made this mistake. So I'm not saying that, this is something that is uncommon. It is an easy mistake to make when you don't think this through. But the thing to understand is that when you sell your Bitcoin for fiat currency, there's a couple of problems. The first is that fiat currency is constantly being debased, constantly being inflated, which basically means that the minute you convert that scarce monetary instrument into an infinite monetary instrument, you've all of a sudden crossed the Rubicon into a world that you don't understand, into a world that you have no visibility over, there's no transparency, there's no checks and balances, you can't verify how much there is in circulation in dollars today, tomorrow, next year. And so you're really now at the whim of a system that is going to erode the value of that currency, those fiat dollars that you now have. The other thing to keep in mind, and this is why selling is a mistake, is because you now have capital gains tax obligations, unless you live in somewhere, like Dubai or Cyprus or, one of those tax-friendly jurisdictions, and you've uprooted your life and moved there. You have a capital gains tax obligation. The way it stands with the rules right now is if you sell your Bitcoin in this country, you have a capital gains tax obligation. And so it's not the fact that maybe you've doubled, tripled, quadrupled your Bitcoin in terms of dollars. You have to take into account the fact that now you have also to take into account that you have to pay tax to an institution that has done nothing. You took all the risk, but the assessment is that you have to pay tax on the gain that you've made to that institution. And so you have to factor that into the equation as well. So you are now re-exposing yourself back to the central control system, back into the banks. And so it makes absolutely no sense to me, particularly in this environment that we're in, where we have banks becoming more and more limiting, restrictive, dictating to customers who have been customers for 20, 30, 40 years as to what they can and can't do with their money. Why on earth would you take your money from a world that is decentralized and detached from the central system and move your capital back in to the central system? And there's no guarantee you're going to be able to get it back out with the way that things are going. So there are so many reasons why you need to think very, very, very seriously about selling your Bitcoin before you actually do it. Really understand the implications. And I don't care if you've 10x'd your money. You have to have a really good reason for doing this when you take into account all of the risks associated with that. And not only that, when you wake up and actually realize that you've made a mistake, as many people do, again, I talk to people every single week on my one-on-one coaching calls, my one-on-one Zoom calls, who tell me, Zane, I've made a mistake. A few years ago, I had X number of Bitcoin, quadrupled my money, 5x my money, I cashed it in, I paid the tax on it, and now I realize that the opportunity cost of doing that has been significant because of Bitcoin's growth since that time. And now I want to get back into Bitcoin. And when I account for the fact that I've had to pay tax on it, and now Bitcoin is so much more expensive, I realize I have to be back in Bitcoin, but I can only own half the amount of Bitcoin that I owned, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Don't make this mistake. Number 2, in my mind, there are only 2 valid reasons to sell your Bitcoin. Number 1, to pay off debt. The only reason to sell your Bitcoin, and if you're okay with the tax implications of doing that, there is only one reason, well, there's actually 2, but here's the primary reason to sell your Bitcoin, and that is to pay off debt. So if you've got a mortgage hanging around your neck and you're in a position where if you sell your Bitcoin and you pay your taxes, you can pay that thing off so that you're free and clear and you have no obligations to the banks anymore, that's probably one of the only valid reasons to do it. But you want to make sure that when you take everything into account and you're happy with the opportunity cost of letting go of your Bitcoin, because you know that Bitcoin is repricing housing. And so if you can hold on for another 2, 3, 4 years, then there's a really good chance you might only have to sell half of your Bitcoin in order to pay down that mortgage. So you have to think this through. Please do not, just because you're watching a Bitcoin price chart and you've seen your Bitcoin go up by 2, 3, 4, 5 times, please don't sell your Bitcoin without thinking it through really seriously. The only reason to do it is to pay off debt that you'll never have to look at again. And maybe the only other reason to do it is if you have absolutely no debts and you actually have an opportunity to make a significant lifestyle shift. You have enough, you've made millions and millions of dollars out of Bitcoin to the point where you know that you can go and trade some of that Bitcoin, not all of it, some of it, to buy yourself a beautiful apartment with no debt on it, in an area that you've always desired to live in. Maybe you want to go and travel for the next 5 years and have absolutely no financial headaches and you need to fund that. Maybe that's another reason to be doing it, particularly if you're getting on in years and you know that there's a window for you to go on out and enjoy life and have some adventure and travel and all those kinds of things and not have to worry about the price of anything. yes, then I could accept that you are selling your Bitcoin for that, but not all of it. Make sure you're in a position where you can still retain a meaningful part of your Bitcoin if you are looking to do that. Do not sell all of it. That is a big, big mistake. So, to pay off debt or to fund a significant lifestyle choice, but selling your Bitcoin just to go back into fiat dollars, particularly in the world that we're in now, this inflationary environment and this restrictive, centralized system. What if you put all your money back into the bank and all of a sudden they roll out central bank digital currencies and you have to now download an app on your phone that is now going to dictate to you your access to your money, your spending patterns. It's going to be tied to your digital ID, your carbon credits, your social credit score. Do you really want all of your money exposed in a system like that? Because I'm telling you, when this happens, it's going to happen overnight. You're not going to get any more warnings about this. So think very seriously about this. Selling back into fiat dollars, into dollars, just for a profit is a really, really dumb idea, in my opinion. You have to understand also where this is all going. And it's still very early in this, but there's going to be significant options and future alternatives for Bitcoiners who hold Bitcoin into the future. I believe within the next 3 to 5 years, Bitcoiners who have a meaningful amount of Bitcoin are going to be able to go to any bank on earth and they're going to be able to shop their Bitcoin as collateral for the best possible lending arrangements. Now, if you have a significant stack of Bitcoin, you may choose to do what the ultra wealthy do, and that is to post a small portion of your Bitcoin as collateral and to borrow against it. And what happens when you borrow against an asset? It's a non-taxable event. And so essentially, if Bitcoin's compound annual growth rate continues to track at 40, 50, 60%, and you are borrowing against your Bitcoin at 7 or 8, 9%, then you are light years ahead, because the compound growth of Bitcoin is going to continue to carry you forward into the future. And so you're far exceeding the hurdle rate or the cost of servicing that debt, servicing that loan against your Bitcoin. And so there are going to be people who choose to do this into the future. And they're going to do what the likes of, the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses and the like do, and that is they never pay any tax because they're always borrowing against their assets. And that's a non-taxable event. This is coming. This is coming, and you have to be paying attention to this. Bitcoin-backed loans and also an emerging free market, global free market. Remember, Bitcoin is a global asset. It's not an asset that's confined to the shores of Australia or the USA or the UK. It is a global asset, a globally recognized asset that trades 24/7, 365, the most liquid asset on earth. And so you are going to have the option to participate in a global circular economy where you're going to be able to participate in this free market, spend and replace your Bitcoin. And so if you set yourself up as a merchant who accepts Bitcoin, you might be a consultant, you might run a repair shop or a dress shop or a cafe or a barber. It really doesn't matter. I mean, all the technology and the functionality is there now. The software is there now for you to begin accepting Bitcoin as payment if you want to do that. Now, obviously at the moment, when you only have 5% global adoption so far, with the world still yet to wake up to what this is, obviously most people out there in the community, in the marketplace, they don't yet own Bitcoin in order to spend it. But this is where the great transition is going to happen, where we move from Bitcoin being recognized as the ultimate store of value, where people start to understand that it is also a peer-to-peer medium of exchange that is outside the system, instant settlement, no chargebacks, no fees, and all of the payment rails and the functionality is there in order for that circular global economy to proliferate. And so this is what's coming, and so I want you to play the long game in this. I don't want you to get caught up in the noise. Just understand the value of the asset you hold and keep stacking. Stack, chill, secure your Bitcoin, and do not get shaken out of your Bitcoin. And that involves being future focused. It involves understanding what it is that you hold. It involves making sure that you master self-custody, Bitcoin only, air-gapped, open source hardware, run a node, encrypted vaults, succession plan. These are the conversations I have with people every single week on Zoom. So if you need to book a call with me, I'd encourage you to do that. It'll be a really, really valuable session that you'll have with me. People post reviews after my sessions, not because they asked for them, but because they voluntarily just want to share how much they got from the session. So if you'd like to book a call, you'll see a link in the show notes below, and I'd encourage you to not sit on the fence. Book a call, and you won't make any mistakes. You'll have enormous confidence and clarity, and you'll know exactly what to do next based on where you're at. So we're in the midst of a great wealth transfer. Please remember that. This is a monetary reset. Capital is being rotated from the debt-based legacy failing fiat system, the broken money system, into an emerging global, decentralized, open source, free market. That's what's happening now. And the question is, are you going to participate? Are you going to get on the Bitcoin life raft? The system is broken. We're at the end of a 50-year monetary experiment, which began in 1971 when the gold standard was severed. And so this is where we are. So I encourage you to take action if you're not already doing so. And if you are, it's time to take things to the next level. Further your education, book a session with me, get yourself on the right path. And please don't sell your Bitcoin without thinking it through really, really seriously. I hope you got some value from today's session, from today's video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't yet subscribed, I know that only around 50% of my viewers are subscribed. One of the best ways for you to support what I'm doing and the channel and my message, to encourage me to keep going and showing up and sharing these messages with you, is to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. This is Zane signing out. Bye for now.